first coming in last. Went to the bank, happy alive. Nigga fuck love, rather by rap. Nigga fuck love, rather by rap.
I know today's episode is episode 75. So we're good. Episode 75, Woodcrest Certified Podcast. Sorry, y'all. Was moving last week. Didn't have the PC. Didn't know what the fuck was going on. Carded off my laptop. It was a whole shit show. But we are now set up in good old Minneapolis. We have the PC back. Now I know. Episode 75. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what y'all think. Chris gave us homework today. He said everyone bring a topic to the podcast like it's a potluck. And look at that. We all have one, guys. Some have more than others, so let's get this shit. There's now a $5 fee that will be assigned every week to those who don't have topics, so shit's getting tough out here, y'all. But anyway, first topic. Something I thought about today. I want to hear y'all's thoughts on it. And just so you know how I got there, there was reports today that the NFL goes through those sweeps of gambling to see who they got to suspend, essentially. And then it's rumored that someone from the Colts, a pretty prominent player for them, it's going to get suspended here soon. And I got to thinking, and I think players should be allowed to gamble and bet.
What? On their own sport? On their own games?
Yeah.
Nah, bro.
But here's the stipulations, right? It's not like a free for all, right? You can't bet on everything, but like if you bet on your team to win, I think that should be okay. And also, if you're betting on other teams that don't necessarily pertain to you, I think that should be fine.
I think that's wild because hold on. Tom Brady with a $400 billion contract needs to bet. Like, if you don't sit your bitch ass down somewhere, like, but I'm just saying, like, they already make millions. What's the purpose of them having to bet? And then to bet on their own team is wild. Motherfuckers can just bet on their team to lose and not play.
Right.
No. That's what I just said. There's like guidelines to it, right? There's stipulations.
But
like
what if the other team
could bet? You could bet, but you have to hit these buckets, which is bucket one, like you could only bet for your team to win. Second stipulation, you can't bet like prop bets. You can't bet on like how many yards or touchdowns or whatever, because then that could sway the outcome of it. Because if you're a quarterback and your bet is to throw over 250 yards, you're just gonna audible every fucking play to throw over 250 yards type shit. You get what I'm saying?
Okay, so what if the cornerback has money on that too?
On what? The corner?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
What if the cornerback has money on the other team's quarterback, throwing for those yards too?
So like if it's a head to head,
you know what I'm saying?
If it's a head to head, then you can't do it. Like you can't bet on the team you're playing against.
I mean, you're
like the prop bets.
It's already flawed, bro. Like you're telling them they can bet, but only a certain way. Like that's just not gonna work.
Yeah, why not?
We're gonna do. If you're gonna let them bet, bro, you have to let them bet all the way across the board. Or what are you gonna come with a special NFL betting app where they're gonna bet on certain things? Like
I mean, they're tracking all the bets now anyway, and that's how they're suspending these dudes. And I also think it's ridiculous that you can't bet on other sports inside the team premises. Like that's just dumb to me.
Yeah,
so
but
that's why that's on your sport.
But when you get in a job, like let's say I work for Advent Health, right? Mm-hmm. I can't go to Orlando Health. That's the stipulations before I sign the paperwork. Like that's just what comes with the job. Like you know what I'm saying? Like
no,
it's stipulations. Like basically, I can't work with my competitors because that's conflict of interest, right?
They're doing it now, bro. They're literally
and they getting in trouble.
No, they're betting now. But I'm saying like the NFL and the NBA, right? Like they are encouraging dudes to invest into these gambling platforms. in these gambling companies.
That's different though. That's not betting. That's an investment.
I'm saying, but so they want you to have stake in the game as it is anyway, right? Which is fine, but then you can't actually like do the fun shit, or there's like crazy ways to actually do it.
You could do a lot of fun shit outside of betting.
Yeah. I'm talking about
go
the
to
fun
the strip
shit
club.
in regards.
Go to the
no, man. I'm talking about in regards to the betting side of things.
No, that don't. I don't know. I don't know how you. That's slow. That's slow. I'm gonna say, but like, you already making millions, bro. Like, what's the purpose of wanting to bet?
Pete, they're doing it. They're doing it now,
and they getting in trouble.
Exactly, it's idiotic to do it now.
No,
and
it's
be getting
not.
in trouble. But I'm saying it's idiotic, the act of them gambling now. Like right now, the act of them gambling and betting is idiotic because they're getting these suspensions. So it's like if you're out here making it super prevalent, right? For like sports gambling is a huge market, right? And it's easy to access. So it's like if you're throwing it in front of them, telling them to invest in these companies, right? Like give some leeway on their ability to actually bet.
Nah, hell no. That sounds crazy. I don't agree with you. That's like saying niggas is owning guns anyways. Let's get this shit to kids. It's like, no, nigga, like that's slow. Like,
wow.
Like,
that's not even the same thing. What?
You said because the whole world outside of the athletes is betting, so why not allow the athletes to bet? That sounds dumb. Like,
no, bro.
Yeah.
Brooke's saying all the cool kids are doing it.
Yeah, like you know what I'm saying?
No,
other motherfuckers
that's
is having
the same
doing
thing.
it, so let them motherfuckers have
Rook,
fun.
it could damage the integrity of the game, bro. Like
it's like they're getting in trouble for betting right now and getting suspensions and
that's
shit.
good.
Right? So yeah. But like, why not make it so that way they don't get suspended if they follow certain stipulations?
So we're gonna reward the criminals, basically. That's what you're saying.
They're not criminals, bro. They're just betting on games.
They going against the rules. So we're gonna reward the people that go against the rules.
No, I'm saying change the rules.
Republican.
No, but that don't sound crazy though. Like
I'm just saying change the rules.
Rook, so
follow the rules.
How do you feel about tanking? Just out of random curiosity, how do you feel about tanking?
I think in the NBA, because it's a lottery. I mean, like, look at the fucking the Hornets, or look at the Trailblazers, or look at the Mavericks. Like, they tanked and tried to get the number 1 pick, and it's like, you didn't get it, haha, bitch. Like, you don't get rewarded for it. So, like, in the NBA, tanking is weird. In the NFL, I think it's it's corny. I think it's corny for sure, but in the NFL, like for next year's draft of QBs, like there's gonna be unlawful tanking. Like it's gonna be disgusting.
All right, so imagine if these players were betting, they could tank one play just for a quick come up.
No, David, because I'm saying they can't bet like prop bets. They could bet on their team to win, and pretty much that's
okay. What if it's the final play of the game and you're just like, just throw it to this guy? You know what I mean? Like, he's gonna get open.
I just said you can't do the prop bets.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, you're gonna tell these people that they can bet, but they'd be like, no, you can't bet unless it's a way that I say you can bet. Wow.
That's how it is right now already.
Half of these athletes is financially illiterate than a motherfucker, and then now we're gonna give them another means to throw their money away.
They're doing it now already.
Not all of them.
Sports.
It's a lot of them that's deterred.
All right, but just because you make the rule change doesn't mean all of them are going to start betting either, Pete.
So that sounds crazy.
So, like, what are we talking about?
You don't think more of them is going to start betting because they can do it?
They already can bet. They just can't bet on football. Like NFL football.
I just don't get it. I don't know.
Bro, like the Lions players that got suspended is because I think they were betting on like a college game, but they were in the locker room. So like you can't bet on anything that's team, like the team owns it. So like the locker room, the planes, fucking buses, the hotels, like you can't bet in any of those facilities. But you could, if you step outside of that shit, if you're at home, you could bet on all other sports. So
what's the upside?
Yeah, like I was just about to...
I don't know. Probably maybe players will stop getting suspended.
What do you gain from that?
Yeah, or you could just not bet.
Yeah, maybe I'm tweaking.
I'm just saying.
I'm tweaking.
I had this argument with my coworker where they're like, people should own tanks and tigers. I'm like, why? Because that's freedom. And I'm like, all right, so the upside is that you feel free, the downside that there's potentially a bunch of fucking tigers and tanks running loose. All right, cool.
Yeah, but that's way more dangerous.
But you ain't say what the upside is. Even if this one's not dangerous, it's not a danger, I guess, physically to anybody. But what's the upside?
It's just a strange hill to stand on. It's just I want them. I wonder how many NFL players are like, man, I really wish I could prop that. You know what I mean? I don't.
Calvin Ridley and whoever's about to get. I think it's Michael Pittman is about to get suspended.
You said a prominent player for the Colts. Do the Colts have prominent players?
Well, he's a prominent player for the team.
They got Darius Leonard. And
they also got Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, they do have Jonathan Taylor, but he was injured last year. So after that previous year, I guess
it's a cornerback. Chat says it's a corner. All right, never mind.
My dog Manny, hey, bro, shout out my dog Manny, bro. Bro, become.
He do. Shout out to Manny. But yeah, the upside is you probably have maybe less suspensions. People get to maybe fight harder during games if they're able to bet on their team winning. That's good for football.
Fight soft.
How many suspensions are there?
Well, there's I just said his name. The receiver now for the Jaguars. Ridley, Calvin Ridley. So there was his suspension, and then there was 4 players from the Lions. One was Jameson Williams, which was a half season suspension, and then a couple other players I think was a full or some shit like that, and then there was something with some coaches too who are probably getting suspended as well. And then now with the Colts, there's apparently a corner,
so that we can save 8 guys.
Nah, it's not about saving them, right? I'm just saying.
My stance is fuck them, right? I don't even understand. What are you doing? I think it's an IQ test. I think I lost the whole fucking season. And Calvin Ridley's an idiot, but then everybody's seen what happened to Calvin Ridley, and they
still did it.
If anything, we should suspend you just for being stupid.
Yeah, I was reading that the player that's getting suspended for the Colts has made hundreds of bets, and even especially betting on the Colts too, which again under my rules would be cool. Under current rules, he's a fucking moron for doing that. So we'll see who it is when it officially comes out.
If I was the owner of a predominant sports league, and you came to my desk, not the whole, I was the fucking commissioner, and you came to my desk and you're like, hear me out. We should make sports betting legal within the league with these parameters. I'll probably consider it for 3 seconds, and I'll be like, no, I don't why.
But
I said, it's just a thought that I had, bro. All right, that was the thought.
We're gonna have to hire
I'll be having thoughts too, bro.
We're gonna have to hire a whole team of niggas to make sure these people are following the rules. We're gonna have to audit their fucking bets.
First, they already have that. They already are doing that.
Nah, they fucking found out they were betting and they suspended them.
How do you think they did that?
I mean, I don't know.
Okay, that's something they have
on them, probably,
bro. So all of these betting services, right? They have a partnership with the NFL. So the NFL takes all these dudes' information and gives it to these people and puts them on a list. So when they make certain bets, that shit spikes, and then they report it to the NFL. And then they check the geolocation of bets and all that. So when any of them makes a bet, the NFL knows. It's just a matter of that now the NFL checking where the bet was made and what the bet was.
Listen, I don't care about none of that. I'll just be like, just don't bet, nigga. I don't know, you know what I mean?
That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, just don't do it.
I would still bet too, though. I feel you. I'll just give Chris the money and then have Chris put it in. If I'm a professional athlete and Chris is at my crib, what's to stop him from betting on me? He ain't breaking
that's another thing. You can easily do that shit. I don't. They should get longer suspensions. They're really stupid.
But then, David, I don't agree with that either. You making these contracts is crazy. 230 million, 280 million.
Nah, that's not everybody though.
No, of course, but it be the big players that's betting stupid half the time because they got more money to throw away, right? If I have $200,000 contract, I'm not gonna try to squander that shit versus $200 million contract, right? So if I had this big contract, you're not even focusing on betting. You don't give a fuck about the bets because I'm finna get a $30 million paycheck next week. Who gives a fuck about a $2,000 bet? You're not gonna get unless you got a problem. Unless you got a real problem like Jordan did. That's different. But you ain't gonna be giving a fuck about that shit. You're not gonna care, bro. At all.
I mean, bro, the dudes that are getting in trouble for it, they don't have these fat contracts, Pete.
Didn't you say Calvin Ridley? You don't think he
has he has a decent contract. He's not a fat contract.
It's still more than a $200,000 contract. That's what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, but Jameson Williams, he's on a rookie deal right now.
And how much is that contract?
They're still. They're still paid as fuck.
They're
still getting paid more than fucking we are, right? But I'm just saying, it's still not a fat fucking contract.
Are you saying that since Jameson Williams doesn't have $200 million, it makes more sense for him to bet money?
No, I'm just trying to discredit Pete's statement here. Pete's saying that
of course
he's a fat contract. Well, it's called a rebuttal, bitch.
Or racism. I don't know.
No.
As a hypothetical commissioner of the NFL, none of this shit is working.
This is a terrible. If I'm a hypothetical commissioner, you're fucking fired, bro, for even bringing this shit to my desk.
Yeah.
And you're not getting a job in the sports industry for the rest of your time in the office.
I'll be like, listen, Rook, I appreciate you coming to my office and pitching me. But how about you take the rest of the day off and the rest of the week? Don't come in for the rest of the month. As a matter of fact, I never want to see you
again. Thanks.
All right,
for real.
My bad. I just try to bring my ideas to my friends, and here we are. I'm sorry.
I'm glad you're very pro player.
Yeah.
You're very pro player. I mean, you're not even pro player because you're playing into their these niggas are degenerates, and you're you want them to want NFL to support their habit.
This guy's not a gatekeeper. He's the opposite of that. This guy's an enabler.
He let everybody in.
He's a gate opener.
That nigga Rook went to Congress why is heroin illegal?
Yeah. They only get high hurting themselves. Let them get high.
Bro, that's not even, those aren't on the same spectrums of shit, bro.
Crazy.
It might as well be. You gonna have with your rule. A lot of these NBA and NFL players gonna be even more broke faster.
Rook, do you have something going on with Vegas, bro? Where you're trying to you want Vegas to get more money out of something? You got something cooked up in Vegas, bro?
Probably.
No, I love Vegas though.
Are you a bookie on the low? Is that what I'm hearing?
He running for politics, probably.
So you want to gamble all your money, bro? Come to me. I got you.
Bro, I fucking love to gamble. No, I'm never gonna gamble. I'm never gonna bet with you again, David. Actually, probably.
Probably,
maybe.
That's one less person to lose to. You feel me? I'll just keep losing to Chris.
Fair.
Accept that.
Yeah.
Although
you gotta lose money too.
When the Heat win, I'll break you.
So now you got your energy back. Gabe Vincent goes off one game.
It's not. Hold on. Hold that thought. I'll be right.
This fucking guy.
We were just gonna make such a smooth transition into David's topic about the finals, and then he just dipped. So.
That was an amazing segue.
That was a good segue. and now we're just here. So, how's your guys' day?
Like 4 other topics.
Yeah, I know, but it's just annoying because that was a good setup. Anyway, how about the middle class? Let's talk about that. Since we want to talk about these pro athletes and their bread. High class, middle class. Chris, you brought up the question: can we bring back the middle class? What does that even mean?
So like the middle class has been shrinking. Like a lot of the money is making its way up top. People who technically live in poverty, like the poverty line just keeps on creeping up, sucking more people in. And like the middle class is becoming more and more insignificant. And I was arguing with, real quick thing. I gave guy who thinks we're going to invade Mexico an extension. I gave him an extension, but we doubled up. So now he's going to. And he was saying some shit. And I wish I could give you the nature of the conversation, but he'd be saying so much stupid shit that I just like stopped paying attention. But we ended up at a point where my friend was like, we can fix the middle class. And because we were involved in another debate, he was just using that as a point. I didn't get a chance to interject. You feel what I'm saying? Mm. But it was something that was on my mind. Like, how can we fix the middle class? Like, is it something that's even doable? Like, how the fuck would we even go about doing something like that?
I think the housing crisis or even like the renting crisis would help alleviate some of that stress like I was talking about a while ago. I think a lot of the middle class is diminishing because a lot of people, 1/3 of the money they make go to their living arrangements, right? So if that increases, instead of 1/3, it's going to become 1/2 for a lot of people. So to alleviate a lot of that would help regulate the middle class even more. That's my opinion.
So I track that logic. That logic makes complete sense. But how do we regulate prices of houses?
I said something a long time ago, and I forgot who disagreed, but Chris, we got to regulate a lot of these fucking companies, bro. Like, let's say I built an apartment complex in 1980 because a lot of these shits is old. Besides these new areas, because them shits is going up in like 2.5 days. I see a new apartment built every other day, right? But let's say one of the old apartments I lived in, the rent was $450. Maybe I don't understand the economics of things that well. The rent was $450 for 1-1, right? Less than 10 years later, the minimum rent in the same apartment, nothing changed. And I even checked, they're paid off. They shit been paid off. It's $1,600. What causes that to be a thing? Yeah. I think we need a record, huh?
I was gonna say I spoke about this before. It was you and Chris when when Chris was talking about how rent is governed by mortgages, right?
Yeah.
There's like people are in mortgages can't be regulated because or rent can't be regulated because as long as people are willing to pay, then they're just gonna the price is gonna keep going up because people are willing to pay it.
So what you're saying? So what you're saying is that they would put a
Chris froze.
Chris, you froze. Like backtrack that again.
You have froze, Chris.
You hear me? All right. So you're saying put a rental ceiling, like a rental cap?
I mean, in a way, yes. To be honest, because I even thought about it, and I don't know how you'll be able to do that. But I spoke to somebody that run apartments too, and he was like, it's almost like a free for all. Like, yeah, it's regulated. Like, let's just say the average house is $300,000, the area rent goes up because of that. Then the average house goes to $600,000. The rent's gonna go up, obviously. But how you gonna expect people to even get into houses if 50% of what they're making is going to their apartment? You know what I'm saying? That's wild.
So that's what's supposed to happen. So it's supposed to be a cycle. So people are renting because they can't afford the mortgage.
Yes.
And people can't afford the mortgage, they stop buying houses. Yeah. When they stop buying houses, the prices of houses drop down. When the prices of houses drop down, mortgages drop down. When mortgages drop down, rents drop down. And that's when people start swapping over. The problem here in Florida,
rent's more expensive than fucking
a lot of mortgages right now.
Yeah, I mean, relatively speaking. But like, depending on what area in the United States you're at, like things are working differently. Here in Central Florida, we have the problem of all these motherfuckers from up north coming down and buying houses cash. So you're struggling to pay your rent, but it doesn't fucking matter that you're not buying a house because there's some motherfucker from Connecticut that's coming down and buying not even a house to fucking live in. He's buying rental properties or a house to fucking winter in, which is a fucking problem down here. And we can't stop them from doing that. The idea that you're coming up with the rental caps, like I see something there, but I also see a couple problems with it. Like, a friend of mine, she stays in these luxury apartments in SeaWorld. Really fucking nice. Like, they got their own gym. The pool goes into the fucking lake. It's fucking amazing, right? And you compare that to where I live, which is just some regular schmegular community. And it's like, how do you determine who should pay what? So she's paying twice as much as I am because she lives in a much better place. But if you put caps on rent, then those places wouldn't even exist, right?
I was following to that, the places like the luxury versus where you stay at.
Right, because like you're paying because of the area that you're in and the amenities that you have, right? Like if you have a gated community, that's value. Like you're gonna pay more in a gated community versus a community that's not gated, right? Or if your community has a gym, there's value to that. That's gonna increase your rent. Or if you have a really nice pool, or if you're near a fucking elementary school, or all these things regulate the amount of what people are willing to spend, and what people are willing to spend is what the companies are going to assume what people are willing to spend based off the market, and that's how they assume their prices. But if we put a cap on all that, then all that goes away, and we're kind of just paying what some guy in Tallahassee is saying we should be paying. It kind of like destroys the entire concept of capitalism.
I don't necessarily think so, because I think you could still cap based on the area that you in, like versus, let's say, a low income area, because you have the census, you know who lives where and why, right? Like, so let's say an area like bumfuck St. Cloud, the average income is 40,000 a year versus Windermere, the average income is 1.5 million a year. It's gonna be apartments in both areas instead of fucking in St. Cloud, the cap 450, and then Windermere 3,200 a month. Even like the last apartment I moved out of in South Florida, the 2-2 was 2,385. It makes sense because the income threshold is a little bit higher there, and it was easier. I'm not even gonna lie, because I've lived in the different areas. It was easier to get jobs that was willing to pay more in that area versus St. Cloud, right? So it makes sense for the rent to be a little bit higher because you're using the general people that's in the area, right? That was a multi-billion-dollar area, but this is where it gets weird. This same apartment, like, that's paid off. This same exact apartment is finished. Like, they done built that shit back in the cocaine era. Like, how does it go from 2,385 to that same apartment? Nothing changed. You didn't renovate it. You didn't add AC. You didn't add more amenities. You didn't add one more fucking bum ass palm tree. Nothing crazy, right? That same 2-2 is going for 3,800.
Bro, 3,800 with no AC is fucking a crime.
No, it's AC in there, but I'm saying you didn't add the fucking new Apple VR bullshit that's 3,500 inside the apartment. You didn't add nothing to this. So what caused it to go up?
I mean, that has to be the economics of things. Like they're seeing what other motherfuckers are charging, so it's like they're gonna boost their shit. Yeah, well, we know this, Pete.
But I'm saying, I feel like that's what's affecting. Greed is the answer, but I feel like that's what's affecting the middle class. Going back to the original, like a lot of these people now, a lot of people, especially even in Florida, can't even afford to live on their own if they're not in some type of relationship or brother, sister, mom, dad type environment. If it's a single person, a lot of them can't even do it. They find. I know a lot of people right now that rent out rooms from other people's houses just to make it make sense.
Chat says that people shouldn't be allowed to buy more than 3 homes. More houses available means supply goes up, demand down, prices go down as demand goes down. And then the problem with that though is then like you are eliminating jobs, right?
Yeah.
So like you can't necessarily do that because all of these real estate companies or whatever, like then they go down. But unless you're talking about as an individual, like maybe that makes more sense as an individual person. Like individual person can't buy more, but then that's also tough because that's also like side hustles for people too, is to buy real estate.
I mean,
as long as it doesn't get where it was like in the housing market when people were buying fucking 5 houses with bullshit money and bullshit loans, then that's different.
I mean, we're gonna have to give somewhere.
Do you think, like, what if? I mean, I don't know. I kind of thought about this, but I didn't want to say it because it sounds kind of wild. But hypothetically, let's say the government decides, all right, housing could only be 15 or 20% of your income. So then the locations get to set the pricing based off of the income that you share with them that you make.
It'll be the opposite effect. Just a bunch of people wouldn't qualify for a house.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying for like renting. For apartments.
You're saying like regulation? Like we would all be like on some Section 8 bullshit?
I don't know exactly how Section 8 works, but I'm saying like if you're making $120,000 a year, this is your rent. And then if you're making $50,000 a year, this is your rent. But then that kind of gets into the problem where you were saying, Chris, about like the amenities then becoming irrelevant, sort of, I guess. I don't know. That's kind of where my head went, and then I started disliking what I was saying as I was just saying it. So,
because I agree with what Chris said. You pay. I've done the low income restricted to the luxury apartments. I've challenged myself to make all of them make sense just to see if I can do it. It was like a person thing on my own, but where it gets muddy because I've done it from 2385 to 3,800. What changed? No amenities was added. Like the internet is still fiber. It ain't no fucking super intergalactic Star Trek bullshit. Like nothing really warped to make from the 2,300 to the 3,800 make sense. I was trying to, how you compare and contrast everything. You just naturally do it. I'm like, what caused that to make that okay? I don't get it.
I think what would make the most sense now that you're saying that is that you're only allowed to increase rent by a particular percentage. I think that's what would make sense. So
but that's capping it.
Yeah, but like I think it'll be proportional. Right? So like if you're in a luxury apartment, you're paying $2,500, you can't just turn it into $4,000 overnight. You would only be able to move it incremental year by year. Because like they did the same thing to my apartment. Like some new company bought the whole complex. They bought all the fucking complexes on the street. They basically got a fucking monopoly now. And they repainted shit and they rose people's rents like disrespectfully. And it's like, bro, it's like the buildings are just a different color. Like it doesn't make sense.
Like that's Chris. That's what you asked me last week or the week before that. This nigga moved again. I got smart, right? I said, "Fuck it. You're not renting out a room. I'm in my sister's apartment, which I had no shame in. I'm finna go get a house because I'm pocketing astronomical amounts of money now because
let me get a
my
dollar.
rent went from 1950 to 2350 in a year, and nothing changed. And this apartment was as big as a fucking can of sardines, bro. Like the size didn't increase. The internet was still fiber. The pool was not salt water and heated like my other apartment. There was no super extra. The Lake Minnetonka waters. This like there's nothing. They didn't add a waterfall out the sky. There's no rainbows that come out when I step outside. Nothing crazy, man. And they rose my rent by $400. What changed?
People want rainbows.
That's all David heard.
I think Chris makes a good point of there needing to be like a cap on how much you could increase each year. And on that note, to make it really interesting and help the fucking people, is that this should only go up as much as the like the minimum wage or the wages go up or whatever, because wages go up very minusculely, but then cost of living and inflation goes up astronomically over the last fucking 30 years or whatever it is. So, I mean, all the wages are moving very statically, and then cost of living and everything else is just going up astronomically. So it's like, in all reality, they should follow the same pattern and percentages of whatever the fuck wages are.
And they do that already with COLA. The cost of living index. Like, they regulate certain aspects of our living with that anyway. So our increase in pay went up 8%, let's just say, in most sectors, right? But then the cost to your apartment jumped up 40%. How am I ever even gonna make the middle class make sense ever? If every year I go up 8%, but then the cost of living go up 40.
Yeah, it's just stupid.
That's already creating a gap, because in 10 years I'm behind 200+%. Like, so I would never even make that gap, and because I've been in an apartment since I was 19 years old, so I've seen this with my own eyes. Like, it's literally doing this. Even though I'm fortunate enough to increase my pay drastically every time I get a new job or other shit that I do, but a lot of people is not privy to that type of lifestyle. So when it does this, they on this end of it versus the rich people on this other end of it. All right?
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong.
And then the chat said the increases has to be justified. What they improved, what was added, more security things. Yeah. No, cap. Huh?
You said what? Chris, what'd you say?
You said that to increase the rent, they would have to justify it with something. I mean, I don't know. I think that makes sense. That makes sense to me.
That's what chat said. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. But what Pete's saying is they're increasing the rent without doing anything.
My apartment looked the exact same, and we've always had a cop on the premise. Like, the internet did not get faster. Like I said, the pool did not get heated. It's not salt water. It's not. Nothing changed.
Wait, tell me, your other place has saltwater pool
and heated pool. Yeah.
Why?
I don't know, nigga. I was just testing myself. It was just I don't live there anymore. That was my place 2 places ago. But nothing changed in a year, bro, to quantify the $400 increase.
Why would people want a saltwater pool though? Saltwater sucks.
I don't know. White people do shit.
Saltwater sucks. I can't fuck with saltwater.
Nah, I fucking hate it, bro. That's why I hate the beach. I don't know.
I ain't know nobody that hates saltwater. That's new, but
It's fucking salty. It's fucking. It
You
sucks.
don't drink the water, bitch.
That's what I'm saying.
I know it go.
You
But
consuming
sometimes,
this shit, bro?
no, I'm just saying. So water has never gone into your mouth.
Mistakenly, like
exactly. So it just happens.
You know, like 70% of that is like whale semen.
What the heck? What are we doing, bro?
Chris dirty, bro. Like,
Grass nigga, I'm not dirty. I never go to the fucking. I think it's dirty.
Yeah. Man, ain't nothing wrong with the beef, bro.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with the beef, man.
Chris
is wild.
Chris said your apartment complex got whale semen and put it in your pool.
Niggas transported that bitch from California.
From SeaWorld.
From SeaWorld. That's right.
They got that bitch on 2 cranes. Oh, this is gonna be realistic.
Yo, this gonna be a clip. Clip that shit. They're gonna be like, why y'all talking about whale semen on
the jacking off a whale?
Wow.
That nigga got 2 hands on that motherfucker.
What the Chris envisioning a motherfucker wrapped around a whale dick.
Using that bitch like what things at the gym that the niggas box with, like
the bag.
Yeah. Did you just call us nasty?
Yeah.
That nigga working on his apartment.
Dirty,
bro. You know what's crazy?
Is explaining what's happening.
It's crazy that's like a real job for someone with horses. For like racehorses? Yeah, for racehorses. Like if there's a horse that is like, you know, he's a high competitor or whatever, and like if he gets hurt and has to get put down, they jack it off so that way they could get his semen to make more horses based off of his genetics.
Interesting.
Like that's a real thing.
Dude.
Hey, Rook want the job.
He must, like, he unprovokedly, like, started talking about jacking off a horse, bro. Like,
Chris, why do you know that? She learned something new about Rook on the chat. Like, Rook, why do you know that? Like,
I don't know.
Rook is like, oh, they talking about jacking off whales? They jack off horses too.
That nigga, all I'm saying is that nigga was looking for jobs like a month ago. That's all I'm saying.
That's crazy.
Fuck you, Chris.
Oh my god.
We got Chris jacking off the air like a fucking whale cock.
And that nigga said 2 hands, like dirty bitch.
Oh man. Chat says they pay big bucks for the seed.
For real though, going back, justify that shit. Like that apartment that I was talking about in South Florida, that's a 3-year gap. That the shit almost jumped $2,000. How you justify that?
No, you can't.
They put ceramic palm trees, like how you justify that? I feel like that's what. And then imagine the people that's already in these apartments, right? The house is across the street from where I stayed at, because it was the Panther Stadium, the Sawgrass Mall, whoop-de-whoop, right? $850,000 plus. If I can't afford this $3,800, you think I'm gonna go into a house next? Fuck no.
Yeah.
Because your mortgage for the houses across the street gonna be way more.
The housing market in general is just a fucking shit show as it is as well, just because of like the interest rates or whatever. It's kind of a lose-lose situation right now.
I mean, that's what the government's trying to do to regulate the damn housing market. But like everything that I thought I knew about economics has gone out the window these past 2 years. It turns out like niggas just had like a whole bunch of fucking money that they were sitting on, bro. It's fucking nuts.
I mean, it makes
the Donnie
sense.
Bucks, bro.
Nah, you stupid. But if I have a shithole in New York State, or a lot of people in Cali was doing that and moving to Arizona. If I have a shithole in Cali and I flip that bit for $3.5 million, because you could have a cardboard box and it's worth $3.5 million, then I go to Arizona where the houses is 200,000. I'm finna buy about 6 of them hoes and be straight. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
bro, I seen this stat on Twitter that said that if you're in Austin, Texas, and you make, I think it was like $130,000 a year, you have the same buying power as someone that makes $300,000 in New York.
That makes sense.
Yes.
That's wild.
Yeah, I seen some big fucking houses in Texas going for like 200,000. Them same houses in Orlando will be like 1.8 million.
Yeah. San Antonio ramped up building development or housing development by like 125%. Like, these niggas are going in because a bunch of people are moving there. Like, a bunch of people are going from other places to San Antonio. The problem with Orlando is that we're maxed out, bro. Like, you got to go somewhere else. You know what I mean? You got to go
bro, what? For real, man.
You got to go to Apopka. You got to go to St. Cloud. You got to go to Point Siena. You got to go to Davenport. Like, Orlando got nothing left.
It's all in Central Florida, I feel like. It's not just Orlando. Like,
it's
just so many fucking people, bro. Like,
it's one of the fastest growing areas in the world, like percentage wise.
Do y'all think? I mean, it probably won't be in our lifetime, right? When we're absolutely just kind of like fucked when we build into all the land that we have.
Nah, just start building on top of that shit, bro.
That ain't gonna be fucked. Even if you look at the maps, like 40%, I think, of the world live around where water's at. So you on the edges, anyways. Eventually, it's gonna suck, but niggas gonna have to move to Ohio, and you just gonna have to thug that bitch out. Like,
call it a
and
day.
It is what it is,
bro. Like, I seen the shit, but then the other problem is like, I seen in Arizona that they have to slow down development because they're literally running out of fucking water to like to sustain living out there and shit.
Yeah, and Arizona's like, niggas been going to Arizona at a ridiculous pace. Like, people fuck to Arizona really heavy.
That's one of my favorite
It's good
states
weather.
to visit.
Yeah, it's good weather. I don't know what the income tax is like in Arizona, but
weather fucking sucks.
It's hot.
Well, I mean, it doesn't suck as much as fucking Ohio.
I would argue. I don't know. That fucking heat is bad. It's the desert, nigga.
It's the desert, yeah.
I mean, it's the dry heat versus, like, in Florida, it's the humidity.
And it gets cold as fuck too, right?
Like, humidity is good for your skin.
It is.
I got eczema.
Eczema.
It do get cold as shit at
that
night.
dry heat would not be good for your eczema, bro.
Hell no, I'll be out there.
Crusty.
On some Tyrone Big on shit, bro.
Yeah. No, but I was just thinking about that because, like, that's the same shit that happened, for example, in Denver, where Denver just became an ultra hot spot and then blew up. And then a fucking 1-1 is like 2,300 or 2,400 or like 3,000 or whatever per month fucking out there. And houses, dude, Tammy and I, because originally when we were looking for places to go, like, Denver was top of our list, but then the housing market was just insane out there. It was like $500,000 or $600,000 for a shitty ass like townhome.
Yeah, so Florida's like that's starting to be on that shit too.
Yeah, so having a Florida, I mean, shit is gonna happen in Texas too with all these places. Granted, Texas is big as fuck. There's a lot of development that would need to happen, but I mean it's all happening.
People only move to 3 places in Texas, though.
Yeah, Houston.
All right, that's even worse, though. I'm saying, like, you're
Dallas.
Eventually, the same shit is gonna happen.
What's gonna have to happen is that these smaller cities are gonna have to, and they are, like, these smaller cities are coming up. Like, a lot of places in Tennessee are becoming a lot more attractive. A lot of places in North Carolina, Connecticut, New Jersey, Arizona. Little by little, places are starting to pop up. These major cities don't have the same appeal that they did 20 years ago.
Yeah, no,
there's a bunch of I was going to say there's a bunch of Davenports on the come up because like Davenport is an area that is a great example of what Chris is describing. Like these little cities that's close enough to the big cities to be affiliated with it, but far enough away from it that you're not bothered by it. Right.
And do your own thing, live, like actually be able to afford to fucking live. Yeah.
I ain't got to sell my kidney and give up my firstborn child just to afford a low income apartment. Even with that whole apartment shit, because people agree with it to a certain extent, but I don't know. I know humans create value, like with the houses. Like if I sell my house for $300,000, the neighbor gonna want to one up me, sell it for $320, $450, so on and so forth. I get that aspect of it because that's private property. So if I have this phone and I'm like, okay, I want to sell it to Rook for $800, and if he's dumb enough to say, hell yeah, I want the phone, I find value in it, I'm gonna buy it. But the apartments is the part that really kind of fucked me up because, like, yeah,
that's
you pay
private property.
It is, but
it's the same thing, Pete.
Well, like what I would back Pete up with is like these pharmaceutical companies are also private, and they basically do the same fucking thing, right? And there's a strong argument that the government needs to step in and start putting caps on what they charge your insurance company. Like it'll cost them like 30 cents to give you 12 tablets, but they'll charge your insurance company $130. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
So like there is a point where the government, I believe, is required to step in and be like, yo, you guys are wilding. Like this greed has gotten out of control.
They're gonna have to, like, even with like the clothing sector is the same thing, but the clothing for most people is not 30 to 50% of the expensive. It's some people out there that should be like 80, but they're slow. Let me use that word, right? But living arrangement, you have to have somewhere to live, unless you want to be homeless. That's a whole another subject too in itself. But when you can't regulate that, like we went from 30%, 1/3, or 33%. It used to be for most people, like your house or apartment is gonna be 1/3. To a lot of people, that's 50, 60, 70% of their income. Like if I'm only making $2,600 a month and I have to make 3 times the income in a certain area, but the average 1-1 in Orlando is $2,000. I only got $600 to play with. What the fuck I'm gonna do with $600? I still got a car note, car insurance, cell phone, light, water, food. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm finna pour all that shit out my ass, like, or go jack off a well to make some money to afford it.
If you make it real talk. If you make it $2,600 a month, you can't afford to live in Orlando, dog. Like,
but that's a lot of people in Orlando is making $2,600 a month.
Yeah,
a fuck ton of people, way more people than y'all think. Even though everybody on Instagram is rich,
and then they putting the rest of the shit on their credit card.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people are, they're sharing the expenses with other people. And I do think a shit ton of people do make a shit ton of bad financial decisions. I've seen it firsthand in many different stages. Seen different people make, you know what I mean? Like, I've seen some stupid motherfuckers. But you're not wrong. Like, you're not wrong. Like, it's become ridiculously expensive. And like I said, like, capitalism is supposed to kick in. When it becomes too expensive to live in a certain place, people fucking leave, and then things balance out. But because so many of these fuckers from the north keep coming down, like, we never get a chance. Like, they just replace us.
Yeah, and a lot of people can't afford it. I moved 2,800,000 times in the past 10 years. Like, I got lucky. A lot of people can't afford to move. Like, that shit costs to move. A lot of money.
Bro,
like,
I know. I just did it.
Right. I did it I've lived in 5 different places in about 5 years. So
that fucking sucks.
Bro,
I lived in Portico, I lived in Solera, I lived in Prime, I lived in Apex, and now I live here. That's 5.
I lived 3 different places the last 3 years, and that shit fucking sucked. But
and that shit costs, my boy.
Yeah. You just find new things, I guess, or new places sometimes. life takes you in other directions.
But now it's 2 of y'all, so y'all could.
Yeah.
If y'all make $50K each, I'm not pocket watching. That's
$100,000. Bro, stay out my pockets, bro.
No, but I'm saying, but if it's one person, how you gonna do that? Like, you just gonna be stuck?
No, it's impossible, bro. You can't do it.
No. Believe it or not, I just checked the time, and we're at time. That shit actually came very fast. Yeah, Pete. Yeah. We appreciate you. Chat, we appreciate you as always. For those of you watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what y'all think. We'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.